It is Carl Brown for GuitarLessons365.com. Continuing our Eddie Marathon, just to honor the legend that will always be with us. And his music is, this song especially, God, jeez. I love this song. It's one of my favorite Van Halen tracks. We're going to learn how to play Girl Gone Bad today. So there's a lot involved in this song. It's like a progressive rock masterpiece to me. I mean, it just goes through so many sections, and it's just rocks, and then it's got some just really incredible solos and just whatever. Anyway, you know the song. So we're going to do it. Before I get into it, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Ring the notification bell so you know when I release a new video. And please check out my Guitar Academy. It's at GuitarLessons365.com. It's the GL365 Academy, and the link in the description below will give you a free 7-day trial to it. So you have full access to all my courses, and covering everything from complete beginner stuff to more advanced courses in technique, improvisation, ear training, theory, guitar tone, and you name it. So please come over and check it out. So let's jump into this. I'm in standard tuning. As the original recording is. So, all right, so we're going to start here with this intro. A lot of tapped harmonics, and it sounds like what he's getting it. So he's got his basic tone, and he just rolls the volume off. So it's not like a clean tone per se. It's kind of a rolled off rhythm. His rhythm tone just kind of rolled off the volume. All right, so this is tricky. All right, so now we're going to start here, the 15th. Well, basically, if you don't know what these harmonics are, you're going to hold the note down here, and then wherever you're holding down there, so that's the 3rd fret on the D string, I'm going to tap that D string 12 frets higher, right over the fret. And that gives us a tapped harmonic, which Eddie was very, very good at these things. So we're going to first hold it. I'll tell you the notes in the left hand, and then we'll just mirror it by tapping it in the right hand. So that's 3 on the D, 2. It's an F major 7 chord. 2 on the G, 1 on the B, open high E string. So you're going to pick across, and then back down to the D. Now let's just do that 12 frets higher, tapping the 15th on the D. 14 on the G, 13 on the B. Now this high E one, it's really hard to get out. And you can see Eddie on the recording too, especially when he does this. That one, the first one, is almost like a ghost note when he goes for that note. The reason why is because it's a very difficult note to get to come out because there's not enough string tension there to really make anything happen. Really, it's dead in the middle of the string. So it's very difficult to make a harmonic pop out of it if you're tapping it. So that one might be a little quieter than the other ones, but it's true for Eddie too. So you go back across, and then we go down to an A sus2 chord. So it's just like an A minor chord without the index finger. So then he picks across that. So just from the A all across, so the D, G, B, high E, back to the B, back to the G. So we're going to tap that now. So we have this so far. All right, now from there, you're going to add that index finger down onto the 1st fret there to make it a full A minor chord. And he does a double tap. So you can do that just with one finger, your index finger angled across the frets. And you just smack it. So I'm tapping so you can, I'm tapping the 13th fret on the B string and the 14th fret there on the G. So when I angle across them, you can make that happen. So one of the hardest things is probably going to get is that little rhythm there on the A. So it's not played like he's muting it every single time. Now how he mutes it, and I'll give you another option to mute it. is he comes over with his thumb. So every time he does this, he brings his thumb over and he mutes it. The guy was real good. God, it's tricky. So you gotta like time the thumb with this index finger. It's just weird. All right, so let's get back into what we got so far. Double tap. So a little dum bum 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 bum, and then it comes over and hits that 14 on the G string again. And then he taps across again. Just so you pick up the first finger there, and you're gonna, when you're going across the tapped harmonics, it's the A sus2 chord, and all the way across, back down to the G string. So far. All right, now we go back to that F major 7 chord, and then we tap across that. I'm sorry. And so I just went across, and then back up. So all the way up to the high E, back down to the D, and then back up to the B string. But he's gonna hit that note twice on the last note on the. All right, and now we're gonna slide up and play the 7th fret on the D, 6th fret on the G, 4th fret there on the B, and then the open high E. Now, here's where, when you hear this the first time, it almost sounds like there's like a ghost note in there. It almost sounds like he could hit the top note, but what I think he's doing, he's going for that high E, and it's just, you know, kind of didn't come out for that one time. Later on in the song, when he does it again, you can hear it better, that he does hit that open E. So that's just picking now, tapping now, this 19th fret there on the D, 18 on the G, 16 on the B. Once again, that 12th fret on the high E, it's gonna be lighter, and then back down. Then back down to that, hold the A minor chord, and we do that double tap again. So we do that much of the rhythm. And then he goes back to that chord we just came from, and he actually starts picking it. So we have this now. So that is just holding that 7, 6, 4, then the open high E string, and picking across, back down to the D. And here's where we start building up with this. So that's just a B major chord starting with this. So that's 7th fret on the high E, 8th on the G, 9 on the D. And then you play this down, 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 up. Let's try this. Then hit that B a couple more times and move it up to a C major chord, 1 fret higher. Same rhythm, and then 3 more times here. And then we move up to this D chord. So that is just playing the D to this G chord, which is just the 12th fret across the D, G, and the B. And then back to that D major chord. And then we have, Now that chord right there is another favorite of Eddie's, like a sus chord. So that's the 12th fret across the D and the G, and the 3rd fret there of the B string. So that, you play that, and then you just release it and play the 12s across, the G chord. Then back here to the C that we did earlier. Back to the D. So it, and then back to the G and D. Now, as you're holding that last chord, bring the volume up, and we have this. I love that part. That's one of my favorite Van Halen parts ever. So. All right, so we're gonna start here. Now, how he usually plays these 6-note licks is kind of like he did it in on Spanish Fly, where he'll take the notes on the bottom. So it's basically this. All right, so it's not a timing of 6, but it is a 6-note pattern in the left hand. So it's just kind of basic 3 notes per string stuff. So 3, 5, 7 on the low E, the 3, 5, 7 on the A, and that's the first pattern. So how he usually does it is like he did in Spanish Fly, where he'll hammer, he'll pick the first note and hammer the notes on the bottom string, and then quick pick the notes on the high E string. And it sounds like he really gets a feel of like a 7 instead of a 6. And by the first note that he picks, he's kind of double picking it. So it's got a very interesting feel to it with the basic 3 notes per string pattern. So that's the notes hammered down here, and then kind of a double pick, and then you play 3, 3, 3, 5, 7. If you do it fast, it doesn't really matter what you do. And then the exact same thing starting on the A string. So cool. And then he just takes it up an octave. So move it up here from this G to the 10th fret G, and then the same thing. All right, and then we have this. So that'll 2nd fret there on the G string, and then we're gonna put pull off 5, 4, 2, and then play 4, 2, 0. And then we actually get into the full bands coming in. We are still in the intro, everyone. This is an intricate tune. All right, we have this now. And then it goes into a killer riff, but we'll hold that for a second. So we have this open A string, and then you're gonna, now a lot of this I think is gonna be on the original recording, probably some overdubs, because it's got this like really chorusy sound coming in with it. And then the big power chord underneath it. But you know, as he did it live and how we can kind of put it together into one, is you hit that open A power chord, right? And then you play the A sus2 chord just strung across it. And then you hit the open A a couple more times. And then go up here and grab this F power chord. So we're gonna play the 3rd fret there on the D and 5th fret there on the G. And and then strum across those 4 strings, keeping the open high B and high E in there. That's what it is. Now, slide into the 7th fret on the A and play the 5th fret on the D and the G twice. Repeat. And then we rock out. All right, and then finally Dave gets to come in. So this riff right here is really tricky to get right. So we're going to start with the power chord, and then you're going to bend up the 4th fret a half step on the low E string. And then so I'm playing that down, up, up. So that was kind of done twice. And then end it with another bend. So that's kind of the first half of it. So and then what it really does is it feels like that first half was you're starting it with a bend. And then it feels like it reverses. Now it's the da 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 boom da 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 boom instead of going boom da da boom da boom da 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 boom da 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 boom. So if you understand what I'm doing, I'm kind of reversing the. Then we go back to that F chord and then continue that same rhythm. So it's not the easiest thing in the world. So we have it over the A chord. Then over the F chord. And then here, instead of going, Eddie always kind of goes into a fill. So we have this. So that first fill is this, he's doing the standard tapping thing. Playing the, I'm using my, I know at the beginning I like to usually tap with my index finger, but it's just too quick to go back and forth. So we're just tapping here, the 9th fret on the G, pull off the 7, and then the hammer on 5. So that kind of basic tapping lick. And then Eddie, he slides it up the G string, and as you do that, slide this note here to the 9th fret. And then, so another classic Eddie thing. So that is bending at the 7th fret there on the G. Now here you don't have to overly tap that. You can do a touch harmonic since you kind of picked it into motion. But he probably taps the crap out of it, so just smacks it. So he's bending at the 7th fret there on the G, and then tapping the 12th fret, so it's just a 5 frets up, so it's just got that 2-octave harmonic there. Release that, then tap play the 7th fret there on the D and tap the 5 frets up from that at the 12th fret, and then back to that 7 on the G. So it's a little bit easier to do that touch harmonic since when you do this, there's no room to really do a tap without causing a bunch of noise. So it's easier to So you saw what I did. I just there, just touch it, and you'll get a harmonic. And the other ones are easier to do tap harmonics on since you're not doing a bend with them, and so there's plenty of room there. All right, so we have finally made it to the verse. All right, so a lot easier to play. Sounds like this. That's not the verse, but it's going into the chorus, but it's a fun song to play. So we are basically playing, starting here with this. So the 5th fret there on the G and the B, down to the 2nd fret on the G, 3rd fret on the B. So we have this. And what he's doing between those two, it's kind of like that. And he's doing it on the D string up around it. And then he switches it up. And when he goes to that, you're not going to hear the D string anymore. So it's. So that's just between those two 5s down to the 3 on both of those strings. And then back. Slide into them a couple times. Let's try this. Then back to the D version with you kind of chugging along the D string with it. So we have that again. And then we're going to play the 1st fret there on the G and the B together, up to the 3rd fret. And then now this little thing he does here, the first time, so this is what I think he's doing, this is what you're actually hearing on the recording. So we have this sus thing going on, the very first one. So we basically, I'll play the whole chord first. We have the 9th fret there on the G, 10th on the B, 9th on the high E. So we're going to play the 10th fret there on the high E with it. So the first time you hear this, what you hear is him picking the G string and the high E string, and then pulling off to that 9th fret on the high E string. The second time you hear this, later on the song, you hear him picking the B string, so he's holding that note. So they sound different each time. Sometimes it sounds good to play the whole thing, and then go into this, which he does the same both times. So after that little, we have this 8, and it sounds like he's snapping this, playing this with like a pick and fingers thing. So we have 8th fret there on the B string, 8th on the high E, and then release it down to the 7th fret there on the high E. So now kind of the same thing from the 6th fret. I'm sorry. Now after you got to that chord shape where you're playing the 6th fret there on the B and the 5th fret on the high E, take that down. 1 fret at a time. And then we're back to that groove and riff. All right, so this is the chorus. So that riff right there was the chorus. So this first time you're hearing the chorus, well, with the vocals on it at least, we have the fills are a little bit different. So we have these fills. All right, so that's that chorus there. So that same riff, so just the fills we have to cover. That's the just natural harmonic at the 5th fret on the D to the G, and then over to the 7th fret on the G, back to the 7th fret on the D, back to that 7th fret on the G, and then up to the 12th fret on the G. So that second filler, so basically when we go through this chorus now, all we got to really show is the fills, because that's the only thing that's different. The rhythm stays the same, and the fills always come in the same spot. So we go across this A minor pentatonic thing. So he's just doing that same tap to 9, hammer on 5, 7. So tap, pull off to 5, hammer on 7. Tap 10 on the B, pull off to 5, hammer on 8. And then do that same here repeated on the high E string. And slide it up and pull it off to the 8. So we have this. All right, then we're back to the verse again. So we have this same verse as before. And then I already explained this. All right, so that right there is kind of, when we went into the chorus. Just kind of went, so just right in the middle of it, just right at the beginning of the chorus, he just kind of leaves it and goes 3, open E, 2, open E, 3, 0, 2, 0, 1, 0. And then we do some add 9 stuff. So we have this open E, 2nd fret on the A, 4th fret there on the D. Then 3 on the, told you, we add 9s, man. Told you this was a prog rock song. So 3 on the A, 5 on the D, 7 on the G. Move it up to the 5th fret, just kind of strum it there, and then up to the 7th. And then when he gets it to the 8th fret, move everything up to the 8th, he's going to bar his pinky finger across those 3 strings. So you're not just playing the 12th fret G string, you're barring across the 12th fret, across the G, B, and the height. So we have. All right, getting somewhere now. So this part is just kind of like a literally kind of a transition into the solo section, I think. I don't know what to call it. So we had this A power chord that will slight bend of the, the half step bend at the 4th fret of the G again. I mean low E. Back to the A power chord, some pick slides. And then that is just. You play the 2nd fret on the G and the B together, add the 3rd fret there on the B, and pull off 3 to 2 there on the B, while holding that 2 on the G as well. And then play 2 on the D and the G together, and then open D and G. And it sounds like there's a kind of a kind of making some harmonic noise there. So it sounds like it's always doing, it's kind of just doing some tremolo picking, running some harmonics there. It's really light in the mix, but it is there. All right, and now we get to what I think is the real bridge. Sounds like this. All right, and then that goes to the solo, which is killer. We'll get to that in a second. So this right here, this is, starts with 3 hits. So those 3 hits at the 2nd fret on the low E string, over to the 4th fret there on the D, back to the 2nd fret there on the low E string, and then a slight bend at the 3rd fret on the D string. Try this. So. And then we go back and we now hit 2 hits on the low E. And then from there it's the same. So that's basically the same thing done twice, except the first time you play it, you hear 3 hits. Slower. Then we're going to take that same thing here to the 5th fret on the D here at the 5th fret on the A string. So it starts the same with those 3 hits and hitting that same octave on the 7th fret of the G. So it's the same. But now he does some tremolo picking. 7, 9, 11, 12, 14. And some rah-rah. Just way this. Repeat. Now here, once again, instead of going in the tremolo picking, he has this different. And here it's kind of tricky to pick it up exactly what he's doing, but I think what's going on is he's going. So what's happening? He's picking the 7th fret on the D string, then picking the 7th fret on the B twice. So you kind of go down, down, up. And then he pulls off to the open B. And then do the 6th fret. And then the 5th. And then you just play those 2 notes together. So, because if you listen to the recording, you can hear this. If you slow it down, you can hear that, but you can also hear this. So we just kind of put them together. All right, and then we get to Eddie's solo. So I'm going to play through. It's just a killer solo, get some crazy stuff in it. I'm going to play through it, and then I'll show you how to play it phrase by phrase. All right, so some really great stuff in there, some crazy licks. So anyway, let's get through it. I'll take you through this first phrase. It kind of starts with just that A power chord. And then he starts doing the tremolo picking up the G string. So those notes that he's tremolo picking are 2, 4, 5, 7, 9. And into a bend there at the 12th fret on the G string. Now we have this really amazing little legato lick that he does. So it starts with kind of out of that bend. That about 100 times faster. So we're going to start out of that bend. You're going to play 10 on the B string, hammer 13, pull back off to 10, slide down to 8. Then we're going to hammer on back to 10 and 12 on the B. So So after that, we're going to switch over to the high E string. We're going to play the 8th fret there, hammer on 10, then pull off 8, pull off to 10, pull off to 8, and slide down to 7. So we have this. From there, we're going to go pull off 10 to 7 on the high E. So we have this. Then go over to the B string, pull off 10, 8, 7. Then play 9 on the G, pull off 7, slide down to 5. And you go back to the 9, and then pull off 7, 5. So we have this. That's when I'm doing it. I like to kind of go back up to that E note, so or just like that. Then what you're gonna do is go over to the D string, and that's 9, pull off to 7, 5, hammer back on to 7, hammer back on to 9, and end it there, but pulling back off to the 7. So we have this. All right, so out of that, we have some big bends. So that's kind of sliding into the 16 real quick on the D, over to 14 on the G, and into the bend at the 17th fret. So as a bend, and then a really big one, and then so then it's 14 on the B string, and then kind of bend the 17th fret on the G string up a half step, kind of to match it. So he's kind of doing that. Then he'll release that bend, pull off to 14, and then back to that 17th fret half step bend. All right, now we've got a really crazy legato. Like it kind of starts as one of those symmetrical things, then goes into like almost like a whole tone type thing. It's pretty chaotic sounding. So slowly, it's this. It kind of ends with kind of like a bluesy thing. So that is going to start with this 14 on the B, hammer on 17, hammer on 20, over to 14 on the high E, and then you're going to kind of reverse that. You're going to play 20 on the high E, pull off to 17, pull off to 14. So we have this hammering on, and then so that's kind of a common little thing that Eddie will do, that kind of symmetrical stuff across the strings. But here is where it gets a little tricky, and I've tried to work on a lot of different ways of like playing these sequence of notes, some all on one string and then across strings. And then I saw a quick little glimpse of Eddie kind of playing back in that day, and he's playing it, and it's never quite, exact every time he plays. Not these types of licks when he does these kind of things. They're not always like completely the same every time he plays it. But he went and he played it in this different fingering, kind of the same set of notes that I was trying to figure out, playing all on one string, which was very cumbersome. And I watched him do it, and it looked like he was doing it across two strings like this. So that's where kind of a whole tone thing. So we have this play 15 on the high E. So after we did that pull off, go back to 15 on the high E, then pull off 17 to 14 on the B string, hammer on 16, 18, and then go back to the 15 and repeat. So you basically do that twice. And when you get to that 15, the third time there, then it's kind of just kind of like a little bluesy thing after that, just like 16, 17, 16, 14 on both the B and the G to resolve it there, the 14. So it's kind of like. I kind of just do just a whatever standard bluesy lick. Kind of just 17, 16, 14, over to 17 on the G, back to that 14, then it's kind of around what he's doing. All right, and then we have this. So that is another case where Eddie likes to take a note and then as the normal human guitar players like to then would bend to that note. Eddie likes to bend way past it. So that's what he's doing there. You hear the note 17th fret on the high E string and then bend way past it on the 20th fret on the B string. And then play that note again and then bend to the note. And then do that again. And then he'll end it with sliding into the 19 and playing 20 on the B. And then we have this lick down here. Another kind of classic Eddie kind of stuff where he starts with kind of a rake and then some staccato notes on the high E string. So kind of raking into that 5th fret there on the high E, and then 7, and then 8. And then we have this. That's going to be play 7, hammer on 8, pull off to 7, pull off to 5. Over to 8 on the B, and then back to the 5th fret on the high E. And then he kind of just descends after that. So just descend 8, 7, 5 on the B, over to 8 on the G string. Then back to the 5th fret on the B and then the 5th fret on the G. And you're hitting those with some pinch harmonics. So. And then we have some tremolo pick double stops going up the G and B string. So that starts with, well, the first one it almost sounds like they're separated a little bit, but you kind of put them together. It sounds good, and it's kind of what he does live. So we have this 2nd fret there on the G. 1st fret on the B, so we have this. Then we'll go into the 5th fret on the G and the B, to the 4th fret on the G and 3rd fret on the B. So remember this, because we're just going to take this now up 2 frets at a time. So we just started here with this, and then we went to 5th fret on both strings, and then 4 and 3. So this little move now, repeat this 2 frets higher. So 7s, 6 and 5, 9s, 8 and 7, and then up to 11, the 11s, and you're just going to stop there. All right, now out of that solo, we go into this really cool kind of clean section with some interesting chords. So you got to roll back the volume again, and we have this. So very, very cool. So what's going on? We're going to be playing, we're going to have this A minor chord. We're going to play the 9th fret on the D, I'm sorry, 9th fret on the G string, sorry. 10th fret on the B, 8th fret on the high E. So we're going to pick a cross from the G to the B to the high E, back down to the B and the G. Then what we're going to do is play the 7th fret on the high E, 10th on the B, 9th on the G. You're going to pick across those from the E to the high E twice. So, I'm sorry, I think I missed one. So you pick across all the way with that A minor, and then pick from the high E to the E, the G again from it. And then you go to that next chord. Now here we have this, there's playing the 9th fret there on the A string, and then you're going to bar the 5th fret across the D to the high E. So you're going to pick, when you get those notes, you're going to play the A, D, G, and then the high E, B, G. And then down to that F major 7th again. And after you get that, you're going to pick the D, the G, high E, and the B while you're holding that chord. So all together. Then it's kind of similar. We go back to this A minor. So you hold that A minor, you pick from the high E across to the G. And then that second chord going down to the 7th fret on the high E. Hold that again and pick, after you pick across from the high E to the G, then you're going to pick the B. So, kind of goes back and forth. So, just kind of like that. So it's just, picking pattern is just slightly different. And then we have back to that same big stretch chord. And this one is a little bit different in that he doesn't go to the high E string. He just kind of picks from the A to the D string and then G, B, G, D. And just like I got there, he's kind of digging in a little bit more. You hear a little bit more distortion coming in. And the same thing with that F major 7. And then we're back to a section that's just pretty much like the introduction, just a little bit of a variation on it. So it sounds like this. And into the same thing from the intro after that. So basically, you're back with this A minor chord starting. You don't hear too much of a double tap here. You just kind of hear that 14th fret on the G there, or the tap there. Remember, it's 12 frets up from this. Couple times through that little rhythm there, and then you're going to switch to the F major 7 chord, and then tap across that. Up and down from there. That same chord we did before here. And just like there, you can, second time through, you hear Eddie's tap there at the 12th fret better. All right, and then back down to the A minor chord, the double tap. So you just do the rhythm, that much of it though. So after that, and then you tap across the D, still hold the A minor here. You're gonna tap that, just the D, G, and the B. So that's it. And then what he does to transition to the next chord, he hits the open A first. It gives him time to get to that chord and grab it. So we just pick the open A, and then 6th on the G, 4 on the B, high E, 4, and then resolve it with that 7th fret there on the D. And then the rest is the same as the beginning of the song. We just when he gets to that little. So that's just kind of just a laid back version. Now there's some definite overdubs going on over here, so it's kind of, you have to approximate it. Just trying to bring out those scores. They kind of come in early. And then when it gets back to that, the big riff, and we have all these different like the. So that's the first fill you hear there. So when they start getting into the actual riff. So all that is just that tapping, just from that 10. Pull off to 8, 5, sorry, pull off to 5, hammer on to 8 on the B, and then the same thing on the high, like we did earlier. Kind of the same tap on both, except we're adding this to that B string there. And then back to riff. So that one is a couple of bend and release there at the 7th fret on the G. And you tap 12, not a harmonic, the actual fret. Pull off, then tap 14, pull off, and then tap 15. Sorry. Here is this. It's just kind of like this little kind of staccato-y kind of. Just kind of messing around with the A minor pentatonic. So he's just kind of messing around between the G and the D strings a little bit. And then he ends it with a bend there at the 5th fret on the Ds. So it's not really something that you get like note for note, because it's kind of just messing around. It kind of sounds like that on the recording. Then back. And then we ended. So that another kind of A minor, pick the 17th fret on the high E string, 20 on the B, one of those over bends, and then down to the 20th fret, and then up all 7. All right, and then we're at the end of the track here. We're just back to that kind of big laid back verse. All right, so it's just kind of a lot of just really got to build it. And then in the track with an A power chord. Woo! I am spent. That is a monster of a piece to get down in one session. So I appreciate you guys following along. This is all for Eddie. Man, he was the greatest, and we're going to keep letting people know about it. All right, I'll see you guys again soon for GuitarLessons365.com.